always be a little hungry. So even though I might eat disgusting amounts of stuff, I'm never stuffed with those things. I'm never maxed out. I'll eat till I feel not hungry, or I might even be a little full. And then I'm going to just coast on that until I'm actually start feeling, I literally have to start feeling my kind of like my cheeks sucking in a little. And then I know I'm ready to eat again.
Right, Bill Maeda.
So Thomas.
Dude, you're 55 years old. You're literally the most shredded 55-year-old I've ever seen. So
thank you.
I'll take that. I've seen your stuff on Instagram, and all I can think is like, okay, what does this guy's diet look like? What does his supplement regime look like? I see some of your training because you're posting crazy stuff with you lifting barbells with a towel with your teeth and just veins and stuff everywhere. It's impressive, man. But I got to know, like, being the age that you're at, what does your diet look like? While I'm at it, one of the things that I do like about Thrive Market, which I talk about all the time on my channel, and I know you're thinking, oh, here comes the plug. You're right, is that Thrive Market doesn't have a bunch of stuff that has weird added ingredients into it. Like, they adopt a lot of what sort of the EU puts into place for their processed foods. So like packaged foods at Thrive Market don't have weird additives, there's no red dyes and crazy stuff. So at least, even if some of the stuff is processed, like maybe some pantry staples and stuff like that, it's the way that it should be. Processed because you're processing it, not because you're adulterating it and turning it into some hyper palatable nonsense. So that link that I put down below is for a 30% off discount link for anything from Thrive Market. So when you go ahead and you use Thrive Market, you get 30% off your entire grocery order when you use that link that's down below. They also have frozen meat and seafood options. They're starting to roll out fresh options for some people. You might not see it reflected on your account or not. But the bottom line is they've got really good stuff. And they've got canned fish, so they've got like tuna, they've got Wild Planet sardines and anchovy. I mean, all that stuff if you're into that and you're trying to live more Mediterranean. But some of the things that I love the most are just being able to get healthier snack options for my kids, because I don't want to just go to regular Vons or Safeway here in California and get something that has a load of garbage and MSG and stuff in it. If I'm gonna get them a snack, I want something that I feel like, I don't know, I don't feel bad about giving them. So that's the whole idea behind Thrive Market, is being able to bring healthier options to the consumer at a decent price, right? So that link down below gets you 30% off plus a free gift. I really do recommend that you check them out. Check them out. They've been a sponsor on this channel for over half a decade, and I wouldn't be recommending them if it wasn't something that I honestly used myself. So that link is in the top line of the description.
You know, Thomas, my diet has not changed since I was a little kid. It seems to fly in the face of conventional wisdom on diet and metabolism. And I was just asking you on a previous discussion, like, it puzzles me as well. But ever since I was a little kid up until now, I'm 55. First thing I like to clear up, because this oftentimes gets mixed into this conversation, is I like everyone to know at the beginning, up front, whether they're a client or somebody wanting to work with me or asking me questions like you are, that I have never, ever used any performance enhancing drugs. I do use BPC 157 and TB 500 peptides, but I've never used any hormones, TRT, or any growth hormone, anything like that. So I'm just laying that out there. So in case people are wondering, I hope they don't have to anymore. But also, my metabolism up until this point in my life it's extremely fast. So I need to eat very high density foods and combine that with large amounts of carbohydrates. I mean, amounts of carbohydrates that I think would be puzzling to people. Like, lots of, I mean, I think I've posted things of me recently eating like pancakes and waffles with my dog, and I have the spray whipped cream. I buy those 3 at a time at Costco. I don't say this to mock other people's efforts. I'm trying to give an honest portrayal of kind of the way I eat, and a lot of it is kind of things like that. But we were just talking about kind of how things resonate with you, how certain foods, you need them at certain times. So even though I will eat ice cream for 3 days in a row, there's something that triggers that. I'm not an emotional eater. When I get upset, or nervous or whatever, I tend to actually not eat when I'm in that state. So when I'm eating these large, rather gluttonous amounts of foods that are not considered healthy or ideal, there's something that in them that I need. And as soon as that is met, I stop. There's like a very definitive, just a cutoff. And then if I consume like a bunch of Whoppers and onion rings and a shake, which literally I will do easily, then I might not eat for the next 12 hours. And I don't really call it intermittent fasting, because that's, I think, a more scheduled or regimented kind of thing. My thing is, when I eat large amounts of something that's good or not good, doesn't matter, I always consider that fuel. So whatever it is, whether it's Costco hot dogs or a perfectly done macrobiotic masterpiece, it enters my body in the context of it being a fuel. Like literally, I just ate, a couple of pork chops with a bunch of white rice. And right now I feel that is burning. It doesn't sit there. It's not something that tasted good. I took in the amount of that is just right. I have a lot more there, and I might go into that later, but right now I took just the right amount. There's a lot of salt. There's a lot of cream of mushroom soup and white rice in there, but I'm burning that right now. I can feel, we had a little workout earlier. I can feel just, from what we did there, I'm replenishing myself. So I guess I eat randomly. It's intuitive. There's no science, or I've never weighed my food. I've never measured it into individual little containers and, timed my meals. But I guess the thing that accounts for, another thing, even though I eat this way, ever since I was a kid, I have never worked a job that required me to sit down or to stay in one place for more than 10 minutes. So my intention coming out of high school was, I was training in high school to be in the military. So I wanted to be in special forces. Then when I applied out of high school, I was not, they wouldn't take me. I had surgery from football injury. I had 2 screws put in my right shoulder, and that permanently made me ineligible. So, but that was okay. So from then, I was a trainer in high school. I was training my friends in high school. It's kind of like my first job outside of McDonald's. And then after the military told me, go, I just continued training all the way up until this day. So to be fair, to put in maybe a better context, I have never actually, all the jobs I've ever done, which is just mostly as a trainer, I've always been on my feet. And I'm demonstrating. I don't work out with my clients anymore like I used to. When I was younger, I used to really enjoy that. But even from what I do currently, I'm just not static for long periods of time. And I've also learned to be very comfortable, and I think you know what I'm talking. A lot of people might know what I'm talking. To always be a little hungry. So even though I might eat disgusting amounts of stuff, I'm never stuffed with those things. I'm never maxed out. I'll eat till I feel not hungry, or I might even be a little full. And then I'm going to just coast on that until I'm actually start feeling, I literally have to start feeling my cheeks sucking in a little. And then I know I'm ready to eat again. So if I do have something that's really dense, real sugary, real whatever, fatty, I will tend to go a long period of time and burning that constantly. And I guess that somehow results in whatever I might appear to be now. So,
do you think that some days eat a lot more than other days, and it's pretty random at that? You might have a day where you have 5,000 calories, a day where you might have 1,000. It's just kind of...
No. there's some days, like I was just telling you earlier, yesterday, for some reason, I needed sugar. I drank a stevia sweetened soda, but apparently that wasn't enough. So I started drinking my daughter's apple juice, and I was diluting it. And I was drinking a whole bunch of that, and then I ate. This is terrible. People that live here know what kakimochi is. It's like this, chocolate covered little rice crackers that are pure gluten, starchy, whatever. And I was just pounding those. But after a certain point, and that was before dinner. That was just to get me to dinner because I was starting to lose my shit a little bit. So I found that little boost and that was just stuff that was available. I didn't want to get all worked up because we're about to have dinner. But it was enough sugar to just kind of set me off nice, and I didn't overeat my dinner. And that's, like I said, it's not a recommended way to kind of, regulate caloric consumption using sugar to help you not eat as much maybe dinner as you should have. But it was kind of later by the time so I'll use these things strategically. Number one, they're convenient, but I will use them in a way that I just know that I don't worry. When I'm in that mode, I don't worry. I'll eat as much of this sugary, crappy, whatever stuff that's available. And then when I get to some really good food, then I'll have that. And then I'll go a long period of time before I need to reload whatever it is I'm going to. And we were talking with Drew Manning, shout out to Drew, about, I've referred to my attitude towards my own metabolism as that of kind of like an AK-47. Apparently that rifle, you can take any shitty, it could be the best ammunition or stuff that has rust and 50 years old. But when you put that in that gun can function with all kinds of ammunition. And when I was training myself in high school to be a soldier, my thing was, in a way, I scoffed at all the bodybuilding and all the nutritional stuff because my thing was, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I don't want to be an athlete. I want to be a soldier. And I'm going to assume that when I'm a soldier, I am not going to ever have optimal nutrition. At the best, if I'm lucky, I'll get those freaking MREs or whatever. And at worst, I might just be, who knows? So my thing was, I needed to be able to take anything that was available, put it in when I needed it, and make myself go. And I never thought too hard about, what's this doing to my A1C? That food was a fuel source. And my wife and my parents, anyone that knows me when I was younger, I could literally eat huge amounts of everything I wanted. I would literally it feels like I've got a nuclear, like a bolus of, like a sun that's burning right here. Even now, my metabolism from what I just ate, I'm charging from it. I was a little, when we first got here into this room, I was a little depleted, and because I usually don't eat breakfast. And so this was the first thing I ate. And now I'm starting to feel like, ooh.
It's interesting because you have such a, what we would call intuitive eating sort of pattern, which for someone that is energetically in tune with what they're eating, that becomes possible, right?
Yes.
But unfortunately, and there's a lot of people that, I don't know if it's a which came first, the chicken or the egg situation, because you eat a fair bit of hyperpalatable processed food. And there's a lot of people that eat hyperpalatable processed food, and it sort of hijacks them into not really being able to have that intuitiveness to know when to stop or whatnot. But you, coming from a slightly different background, I think that you learned that and developed that at a very young age and became in tune with it. And something that I really try to teach with my kids as well is I try not to put a whole lot of barriers on what they eat, but I try to teach them that they need to really, really listen to what that food is doing inside of them. Mm-hmm. And if that food is making them not feel good, then there's a reason that is happening. And if that food is giving you energy, then go use that energy. That energy is a gift, right? Mm-hmm. When you eat something and it nourishes you and you have the energy, and it sounds woo-woo, but it's probably one of the most important things that people watching this channel could take away is that when you don't waste that gift of energy that you get from your food, because it's cueing that for a reason. And we end up in the situation of energy toxicity, which is essentially where metabolic decline starts, is when you have a surplus of energy that's not being used. And you'll never run into that situation if you use it when you actually have that. And so I think what you're describing, without even realizing it, is you're describing the problem of metabolic health, which is a mix match of the utilization of energy and the improper partitioning and the improper utilization at a cellular level, at a mental level, all this. And you're able to see that, which is why you can say, hey, I can dive into some Domino's pizza and absolutely positively know when I'm full, and know when I'm not just full, but know when cellularly you're full. And it's you said something really interesting as well, because when you look at like what the body would recognize as, hey, it's been 24 hours, I need X number of calories. Like, like your body doesn't know what 24 hours is really, Your body just knows when it needs food or not. And being a little bit hungry, and not having a distorted cue with that is so critical. But my question to you is, despite all of this, you have a wide variety of randomness to your diet. There's got to be some common denominators that maybe are falling into place, even subconsciously. Like, are there things like, okay, yeah, I do eat this, but there's still these norms, these patterns.
Okay, the common, okay, good. The things, okay, so I know probably, I don't want to give the mistaken notion that all I eat is pancakes and, McDonald's and stuff like that, because we cook a lot at home. I actually do most of the cooking at home. And our staples are New York steak, or steak in general, a lot of red meat. Today I got pork chops. So, I actually don't really eat a lot of pork. We ended up, I don't know, we had a tray of that. Then I left the freaking freezer open and everything thawed out, so I had to fire that up. Otherwise, it was just gone to waste. But in general, I'm not a real big pork guy, but I do like red meat, venison, elk, all that stuff. So that's a staple. I also eat, like a lot of people in Hawaii, I eat a lot of white rice. And that has never, ever been a problem for me. When I eat it, that feels like a kind of a quick fuel. Literally, like I just ate a whole bunch of that. I'm feeling that. And another thing, just real quick, I'm going to digress and I'll come back to these basics. But when I eat, one thing I tell people is oftentimes there's a disconnect between once they swallow something. So once they swallow food, it's like it seems to go to some nether realm. And it's just when I eat things like what I just ate, I stay it's an internally connected to that. And it's no longer meat and whatever, just some gross, it is literally like kind of a light. Or I feel or envision it as being like a sun. So I'm connected to what I eat for hours after I eat it. It's not just something that once it goes down here, it might as well end up on the street. It sounds weird. I don't know how, but I stay connected to that, and it's fuel. Mm-hmm. And so right now it is fuel. It is pushing my words and my whatever thoughts I'm trying to bring to you. So, but going back to the basic stuff, it's simple. We eat lots of strawberries. My daughters love strawberries. Steak, and I tend to sorry, man, I like what my daughters like. So they like steak. We're a big steak family. So so steak, rice, any fruit we want. And in Hawaii, we have mango, which has a very high sugar content. And I know there's a huge debate about fructose. I've never given a shit about that. Grapes and whatever. If I want them, I eat them. And I never feel inclined to eat like 8 mangoes. I just like have a few, right? Grapes, I don't need to eat the entire bag. If I have like about 12 or 20 of them, that's cool. And I'm not honestly, if I'm being honest, I used to be a big salad guy. I now only eat vegetables more because the fiber is, I think, a good prebiotic. But I don't really enjoy vegetables the way I used to. I used to be huge on salads and things like that, but now I do eat vegetables, but it's not a big thing. And it's so simple. Oh, also dairy. I'm okay with like ice cream. Yeah, it's a lot of dairy products I'm okay with. And I also eat pasta and cereal and wheat-based cereals and things like that. So those are kind of the staples, yeah.
What would you say if you had to put a number on it? I mean, at your weight, what do you weigh? You're about one.
I'm at 195 and I'm about 5'11".
How many grams of protein would you say you take in per day?
Ooh.
You know, you don't count, but if
I think, is it 28 grams in an ounce? Mm-hmm. I'd probably say I eat half a pound, up to half a pound of some kind, either hamburger or, yeah. That's probably not hard to do. Yeah. And because I don't know, when I eat chicken, I don't know if, even before Pavel Tsatsouline taught me that chicken's a weak bird. Right? That's one of the most classic quotes on nutrition, I think, ever, man. Do you eat chicken? No. Why not? It's a weak bird. That's it. Weak bird. But I don't know, man. I know a lot of bodybuilders eat tons and tons of chicken. I never resonated with it. I mean, I like shoyu chicken, all the local kind of chicken stuff we have here. But if I have my choice, I'm always going to eat a red meat, like beef. Yeah, I like fish, but fish I could eat an entire mahi, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem to. When I eat meat, I can go for a long time without needing to eat anything else. Sorry, my go-to is some kind of red meat and white rice. That's it. If I have potatoes, in Hawaii we don't really do a lot of potatoes, but I'm okay with potatoes as well. When I go to the mainland, potatoes all day long. It's fine. But I need the mix of a simple carbohydrate and red meat and water and a little fruit, and I'm fucking good, man. Yeah.
And you said earlier, you eat like a disgusting amount of carbohydrates, but what, if you had to put a number on that, I mean, what's probably all over the place, but I'm curious. And as a percentage, do you think that more of your calories are coming from carbs than protein?
I'd probably have to guess yes. Yeah.
So then how did you find my channel? I'm just curious. I'm joking.
Oh.
I'm joking. We can come back to that.
No.
Just since mine was a predominantly low-carb channel for so long. How did you come across my channel eating?
No, because I still study. I still look at all these different things, and I apply a lot of keto principles, intermittent fasting, but I kind of, I do the Bruce Lee, take what is useful. So I've never gone full keto. I've tried full keto and that, I just shriveled up. Maybe I didn't do it right, and so I just take keto principles. So I do try to keep, it sounds strange. I just told you, when I eat, I tend to cluster carbohydrates in a certain time, and then I'll be like very kind of more keto, low carb for a prolonged period. And then I think when my glycogen levels start to drop, then I all of a sudden have to do this kind of loading thing. And I literally feel myself within hours of doing that. It's like, you hear those bodybuilders after they're done with their competition, then they go and eat. And then the next day is when they want their pictures taken because they've filled up from the night show. Then whether they win or lose, they eat. And then the next day their muscles look amazing, right? So I guess what I do is I deplete myself, and it could be a day, it could be 3 days where I'll go kind of more lower carb, and then the carbs come in at one time. Yeah. But at the same time, whenever I eat meat, I will tend to have another thing that we're big on is cooked cabbage. No, it's super boring. You just chop frickin' cabbage and boil it. And that's it. We add that. In fact, my wife and my daughter are better because they're trying to go low carb. So they do cooked cabbage with everything now. And I've started doing that as well. But yeah, it's pretty simple, man. Just meat and rice and some fruit and Then I just load the carbs after. I don't really know what grams of like in terms of bread or pasta or rice. Like looking at what I had in there, what would you estimate?
In that whole thing?
Yeah.
That's probably maybe 100 grams of carbs worth of
100
rice.
grams, okay. Yeah. And then now here's a dumb question. That's a lot of carbs? Is that kind of a...
Depends. I mean, you didn't eat the whole thing in one sitting. You ate maybe a third to maybe 2/5 of it, you know?
Yeah,
so
I was eating kind of like I was hungry.
You
but
probably got like 25 grams of carbs if I were to guess.
Yeah.
To maybe 25 to 40, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is not an extreme amount at all. And the interesting thing, so do you have any, when you train, are you typically eating before you train? Or are you
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I know a lot of people like to train fasted. I can do that. It depends on what I'm doing. If it's something that requires kind of a lot of, like if I'm not going to train fasted if I'm trying to lift a barbell with my teeth and I got my neck and everything, you know, I've got to be fucking topped out on everything and really feeling solid. But yeah, like when I go for a run, I'm doing more higher volume kettlebell stuff. Fasted works great, you know. But in general, no, I've always been a big thing. I'm one of those guys that food. I just told you how, you know, after I eat something, I'm connected to it. It's not just like, whew. So I use things. I think a couple days ago, I posted a video where I have ice cream that I mixed up with a Starbucks coffee. And that's literally, I mean, that people always say, God, 2 scoops of ice cream and freaking cold brew coffee. But that on that day, I will routinely use foods like that as a pre-workout. Number one, obviously there's sugar and caffeine, and it doesn't have to have coffee. Sometimes I'll eat like a croissant or a pastry before a workout, because obviously it's giving me, it's more psychological. It gives me a degree of guilt. And sorry, there's some days I don't want to get out there. So I need something that gives me a little bit of dopamine, but also gives me a little bit of guilt. Like after you ate that, you're going to sit down and not do fuck you guys. So I will drink that coffee and the ice cream. And yeah, that's not the best thing to do, but then I'll go out and what I just had, I know it's not good. So I've also had this, and this is probably wrong, but I still believe it. I have this belief that I can energetically and I guess metabolically burn what I just consumed. So if I have a powerful snack, I tend to have a powerful workout, whether I want to or not, because I now know you're not tired. You can't be tired. Look at all this fucking ice cream. You slept enough last night. So yeah, I don't know if I got off the topic a little there, but yeah, no, these things, I use them strategically. I time certain not ideal foods, things that are very high glycemic or supposedly cause big spikes in insulin and blood sugar. I time that when I need it. Like when we're doing infinity lunges and things that are kind of, I need that push of all that sugar and whatever else is entering my system. And if I do that properly, the workout doesn't have to be long, but if I put the energy into that workout that I try to put into it, I'm ready to have dinner right after that. And a few hours later, I can go right to sleep on that. I eat kind of close to bedtime, a surprising amount of food. And I wake up every morning, and my litmus test is when I wake up, I'm not running to the toilet, or I don't have to keep, my bathroom isn't a big issue. I feel my stomach's flat, and I'm feeling alert, and more often than not, that's how I wake up.
It's before we move into the supplement side of things, it's interesting, like listening to this. It's almost on the surface sounds like you're doing like the antithesis of what like most people would. You're doing like the opposite, right?
Kind of.
And I find it funny because it underscores what the most important piece of all this is. And I hope that people can grab this, that you said a couple really key things. You eat at random, which Mark Sisson and I like to call that fractal eating, right? Like that's like where there is actually people spend hours and hours and hours and hours watching my YouTube videos on essentially how to do just that, to gamify it, when in reality, you're just kind of doing it intuitively. You have strategic yet random gaps between meals that are not gamified. They are just random because you sincerely have the ability to eat when you are hungry. And in addition to that, you said another thing that was really important, which was you allow yourself to be a little bit hungry. The evidence, scientifically, randomized controlled trials, I mean, when you are in that slight bit of a hunger state and ghrelin levels are elevated, you have elevated levels of hormone-sensitive lipase. You have elevated lipolysis occurring. You are usually in a fat-burning state at that point in time. And although one could make the argument that poor dietary choices would supersede or override that, I think that is only in the context of someone that is also not active. I think when you are very active, you can get away with a lot, however, you need to also be able to keep yourself in that state of being a little bit hungry all the time. Because I think if you did what you did and you put yourself into even a moderate or even a mild surplus, you would be having a completely different result to this. So what is giving you the effect of being able to be a 4 or 5% body fat at your age is what you've got going on up here and your relationship with food. And some people have to have that relationship with food in a different way where they need to gamify it, they need to count, they need to have a plan. You have inherently what a lot of people have to gamify. So I hope that what people kind of take away from that is that, there's no scorecard for what you're eating each day. Whatever you end up at the end of a week is a better litmus test than what you ended up at the end of the day, right? 15,000, 20,000 calories this week and 1,000 calories Tuesday, 5,000 calories Thursday, whatever. So with all of that, I want to pivot to supplements for just a moment.
Sure.
And we don't have to spend a lot of time here, but what would you say sort of your primary, let's just say like 5 or 6 supplements?
Okay, so my primary supplement has and always will be caffeine. I love coffee. Since I was a teenager, my mom loved coffee, and I was drinking it by the time I was 15 or so. And I met my wife. We were both baristas in the Hawaii's first coffee bar. We met each other there. We were working as baristas there, and so caffeine has been, for better or for worse, it's been kind of a primary supplement for me. And I would say I consume up to 500 milligrams on some days, which I know it's not. Oh wait, no, that a year ago I think I was doing that. I might get, let's just say up to 500, if I'm being honest. So some days I go a little bit crazy. Okay, so that's the other ones are they're not real. What I'm currently taking, if they're not real flashy. I got a homocysteine multivitamin and a vitamin D3. And those are just kind of whatever. Everyone takes those. Vitamin C or ester C. And something called NAD. What is NAD?
Organotamide, adenine dinucleotide.
That was what I meant to say. But no, I just heard it said it's a good it's some super antioxidant kind of.
Yeah, it's sort of the it's like the electron sort of precursor for pretty much like every sort of like electron transaction within your body from food. So it's like it's helping you create energy at like almost a pre-cellular level. Like ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is our actual energy, currency, but like NAD is sort of like what actually helps carry an electron across essentially through the proton gradient to ultimately create energy. It's a very like juvenile way to describe it. It's a lot more complex than that.
That's a juvenile version. I don't even want to hear the other real. But okay, well,
scientifically inaccurate way of describing it. Let's put it that way.
I'm glad I asked you, because based on what you told me, that sounds pretty damn good.
Essentially, if you run out of NAD in the body, you'll be dead in about 15 seconds.
Oh.
So it's it's created in the body, but it's extremely important.
Okay, yeah, because I knew it had some kind of like that kind of effect, and I don't. It's hard to say, but when I started taking this, I just feel like There's certain things your body says, I don't know how I like, but let's just keep taking. Yeah. I've been doing that, yeah. So, and then the two, after a 3-month layoff, I'm just a few days ago, I restarted BPC 157 and TB 500 peptides. I took a few months off.
Which is smart with them.
Yeah. Well, when I first started, 6 months ago, I was severely overtrained. I'd been training nonstop every day, trying to post something to Instagram or social media for 4 years straight. Almost every day I'd put my body through some test. And then I'd post either the best or worst or funniest part of whatever I did onto social media. But it got to the point where, and that's why I contacted Merrick Health. I reached out to them. I met Steve Granzella at Mark Bell's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when I flew out to do the podcast with him in SEMA. And but I was using them, and one thing that happened right away within a week or two of taking the peptides, the first time I used them, was, I had my colon removed 12 to 13 years ago I had colon cancer. And so my guts have never been right. They took that out, and I got some chemo, and it just destroyed me, especially my guts were just messed up. And I noticed right away the BP, or one of them, maybe the combination, there was a big improvement, in my guts. But I was taking them for my knees and my ankles, because my ankles at this point were swollen like elephants. I mean, even now they're slightly swollen, but you would think I had like some kind of congestive heart failure, looking at the swelling in my lower extremities. And that was just because of massive overtraining. I was also only sleeping for maybe less than 5 hours of sleep. And that I've been doing since I was a teenager, because I trained myself from a teenager to be able to function, to push hard on small amounts of sleep. And I guess I screwed up if you do things when you're in those formative years, I think maybe you mess something up. So I have never really needed or felt like I would always sleep just 4 or 5 hours, wake up, and then just go. And my biggest thing right now, personally, more than anything I'm doing on Instagram or any weights or any physical feats, my biggest focus right now is retraining my nervous system and my circadian rhythm to accept 5.5. And then now I'm up to 6 hours. And this for me, like if I can get to sleep by 9:30 instead of 11 or 11:30, if I can get to sleep by 9 or 9:30 or at the latest 10, that's a win. That's my big objective now. I'll miss working out. I will say, I can't work out today because I'm going to have to go to sleep. That's a bigger thing for me now, and it's made the hugest. So if you want to say what's I don't know if that'd be nice, but my biggest supplement right now is sleep. Yeah. Because that precedes everything. Because I'm bringing this up because the peptides did not work on my ankles or my knees at all. In fact, I felt like maybe because I was getting the psychological thing, like I'm taking peptides, I can push harder. That's what I did. And my knees and my ankles, they got worse. And it wasn't until I took a solid 3 months, I committed, now I'm going on 6 months, I pulled back a lot on my training. So my watch time on my social media platforms is plummeted because I'm not posting all that fun stuff I used to do. But my thing is, that has to be okay, because my highest goal is, to be able to continue doing this and doing like what you do. And yeah, so if I gotta take a bunch of steps back, and I'm not gonna worry about followers or watch time or any of those metrics on social media, I'm just focusing more on getting my sleep right. And then now that the swelling's gone down, I function really well. My knees feel better than they have in years. Now, I know if taking the peptides will give them a fair chance. So I reordered from Merrick, and they sent me the peptides, and about a weekend, and I'm pretty sure it's going to have a much better effect. At the same time, when I took a layoff from the peptides, I noticed my gut starting to mildly change. Maybe it was psychological, I don't know, but I noticed when I start taking those peptides, my gut health seems to, without any probiotics or prebiotics, they seem to really help my guts a lot.
Yeah, man.
So, one thing I'm not taking that I want to start taking is creatine.
Yeah.
Because you just hear more and more about all the, not just the physical, but a lot of cognitive stuff.
And the sleep as well.
And sleep, yeah. So
yeah, it's worth even just a low dose of.
But anything. I know it sounds kind of stupid because I just said, I take 500 milligrams of caffeine, and my favorite supplement is coffee, and yet I can't sleep. See, that's what if it's puzzling to other people watching this, it's as puzzling to me as well.
Yeah.
Because when I have caffeine in the morning, I just feel, I know I'm probably addicted to it. Yet if I don't have it for a day or two, I never get headaches.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's that cytochrome P450, which is like the liver enzyme that kind of, basically some people are fast metabolizers versus slow metabolizers, and that kind of impacts the tolerance that people get. But God,
I don't know how you keep all that in there, man. I mean,
it's useless. It's useless. It drives everyone crazy.
It's useful, man. It's great.
Well, Bill, where can everyone find you, man?
Okay, well, I'm real easy to find. All my platforms at Bill Maeda on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and
OnlyFans.
Yes, sir. OnlyFans. That's next time. Right on, Thomas. Love, brother.